Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Amplified Voices podcast with Rafa. And as usual, I'm with my co host, The Voice. How are you, The Voice?
I'm doing very well. How are you
Quite an
doing?
interesting week. How has been your week so far?
My week has been good as always. No complaints
Oh,
yet.
wow.
I'm quite
Good for you.
grateful. Yes,
Good for
yes.
you. And as usual, we're going to start up with a check in.
Check in,
Can
check
you
in.
think of anything that evoked an emotion in you this week?
I think something that evoked an emotion with me or for me this week. I think I've just been thinking about. I'm not gonna go more into details to be honest,
Yeah?
but I think I've just been thinking of how God has been gracious in my
Oh,
life
that's nice.
and how no matter when we go through difficult times,
Mm-hmm.
the way he just lifts you up
Oh,
and give
wow.
you a reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful for that, for God giving me the strength to
Yes.
keep pushing, even
Yes.
when there's some other hard things that has happened in your life. But
Yeah.
God gives you a reason and he never gives up on you. So I think that's something that evoked an emotion in me to say, okay,
Uh-huh.
there are times this year when I thought, okay, this is not gonna work.
But
Why
it's
did this
working.
happen? And you're kind of stuck on something that has happened, but
Yeah.
kind of God just uplifting you up and giving you another reason to celebrate and
Oh,
another
wow.
reason to keep going. So I think,
I'm not going to say it
Mhm,
now,
mhm.
but it actually connects with the topic that we're going to be discussing now,
Okay,
which is mental health awareness. It can be uh, quite connect.
yeah,
For me, well, it's different from you because yours is quite, e- the emotions that we evoked in you are quite immense.
hmm,
For me, is the fuel crisis. Wow.
okay, okay,
Wow. It evoked emotions in me. It's like I'm thinking I'm back to a position where the experience that I had in Africa when we
uh-huh.
had fuel shortages and everything, and you kind of think you're in the first world, you're not going to experience power cuts, water cuts, fuel shortages, and it's happening. It's sort of like evoked a lot of emotions in me, and
Okay.
I'm thinking, what? Uh, Every world, the world is the same. That's what I'm thinking right now. The
So what
world is
kind
the
of
same.
emotion was that? Was it like um fear emotion or anger?
No,
Or what kind of
fear.
emotion?
I
Okay.
wouldn't want to go back to the experiences that I had before. Coming to this part of the world is like you want to have a better life. You want to enhance everything about your life, all aspects about your life. And there you
Mm-hmm.
are, you're stuck in few short queues again. Now I'm thinking of electric cars. It's kind of better because I think they are the people who are celebrating at the moment, people who are driving electric cars. Anyway, let's just jump into our issue today.
Okay.
We're going to be discussing mental health awareness. It's a very, very, very topical issue
Yeah.
which can affect in almost anyone and cannot be detected by a normal human eye. It's
Okay.
only in extreme cases that you can detect that this person is actually suffering from mental illness when it is actually got to its worst stage.
Mm-hmm.
So the first stages cannot be detected by anyone. People suffer from mental health. You can be suffering from mental health. I can be suffering from mental
Yeah.
health, but it's very hard to detect. So
Mm.
it's a very, very important area to focus on. So I'm just going to jump in to my
Uh-huh.
definition.
I think I wanted to just give a general one before we jump to
Oh, okay.
definition.
Okay.
I was thinking when we're talking about mental health, we're talking about emotions. Obviously, it kind of goes in with our check-in that we've
Yes,
done
yes,
today.
yes, yes.
We're talking about when you're talking about mental health, it's just the same as we say physical health. So we're talking about mental health. We're talking about emotional,
Yeah.
psychological, the
Yeah.
social well-being of a person. So we're talking
Yes.
about everyone who's got a mental health.
Everyone
It
has, yeah.
affects how people think, feel, and act. So it's about everyone who's got a mental health. Because I think sometimes, like what you basically said, in terms of people can interchangeably use those words to say, okay,
Yeah, that's true. That's
mhm,
true. People can interchangeably use words like, I have mental health, as if like when you're using washing powder, you think every washing powder is safe.
mhm,
It's washing powder. Mental health is the correct state of mind. Poor mental health is the opposite of that. So I'm going to dig into the World Health Organization definition,
Yeah.
which says
Mhm.
mental health is a state of well-being in which an individual
Yeah.
realizes that his or her own abilities can cope
Yeah.
with the normal stresses of life.
Yeah.
If they can work productively and fruitfully, and they are able to contribute positively in their communities. So poor mental health
Yeah.
becomes the opposite of that.
Mhm. So it's
Where
just this definition just basically talks about how a person is handling stress
yes,
and their relations to others
yeah,
and kind of being able to make healthy choices.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So poor mental health or mental health disorder becomes the opposite of that,
Mhm.
where you realize that your abilities cannot
Mhm.
cope with the normal stresses of life.
Yeah.
So people kind of use those words interchangeably as if they're talking about the same thing, whereas
Mm.
it's different. And also,
Yeah.
mental illness and a poor mental health are used interchangeably, but a
Mhm.
person can suffer from mental illness but not poor health. And a person with poor health cannot suffer from mental illness again.
Mhm.
So it's quite tricky with the
Yeah,
definitions and
it's quite.
everything.
I think what helps me to understand this is obviously when we go
Mm.
more to talk about the difference between um mental health and physical health,
Yes,
because we normally know more about
physical,
physical
because we
health.
can see it.
Yeah, but I think then
Yeah,
sometimes we then don't really understand about this mental health.
yes,
And I think sometimes growing up, we were not even really aware of mental
mental health.
health,
Yeah,
but we would be more of physical health because you can say, oh, I've got a headache,
yes.
or my leg hurts, or my hand hurts. So we're talking about, if we start with the basic to say everyone has got a mental health, everyone has got a
Hmm.
physical health. So when we're talking about everyone can have poor mental health, I
Yes,
think we'll touch on it later on,
yes.
kind of talking about poor mental health is at any stage
Stage. Yeah,
you can have poor mental health. I
exactly.
can have poor mental health because could be stress at work, could be something that I'm going
Yeah.
through. It could be yeah,
This gets me to what I wanted to discuss after that.
yeah,
The types of mental disorders that can actually show you that, at one point in life you've suffered from poor mental health and did not diagnose it, or you did not know that you were actually suffering from poor mental health.
yeah. I think
So
it's mainly important to obviously know. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you
yeah,
short.
yeah.
To say when we're talking about diagnosis, we're talking about actually getting the help from
The
professionals,
professionals, yeah.
because it has to be psychiatrists, it has to be GPs, it has to be a medical professional
Yeah,
who actually diagnoses
yeah.
people in terms of what actually the mental health they have.
Yes. So the main types, I'm just going to touch on the main types of mental disorders because there are many.
Yeah.
So the main types, and these are the basic ones: mood disorders,
Yeah.
such as depression
Hmm.
or bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
So the definition of bipolar disorder is a chronic, long-term condition that involves intense mood
Yeah.
swings, not just mood swings, intense mood swings, which disrupt your everyday life.
Hmm.
And from the statistics, it actually says, this is not me, this is definition from the World Health Organization. Women are mostly affected by bipolar disorders.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the World Health Organization says. Women are the most affected. You know,
Yeah.
then we also look at anxiety disorders as a type of mental health disorders. There's also personality disorders. A personality disorder, I just have to, explain what it is so that people can understand. It refers to a long-term pattern of thinking,
Hmm.
behavior, and emotion that is dysfunctional, extreme, and inflexible.
Hmm.
It causes distress and it makes it difficult to
Yeah.
function in everyday life. So, as you can see, mental health, poor mental health, or mental health disorders, they affect your everyday
Yeah.
life.
Hmm.
Then we also have um oh psychotic disorders is a
Yeah.
type of mental health disorders like schizophrenia. Um, then you also have trauma related disorders,
Yeah.
like post traumatic stress.
Yeah.
This affects a lot of people, especially mothers after giving birth. A lot of mothers after
Or it
giving the
could
birth,
be such after
yeah,
a significant incident that
even
is,
after significant,
which could be
this is
sexual
actually,
abuse, which could be, yeah.
yeah. Why I picked this one is
Hmm.
because a lot of people have suffered from it and did not realize they are suffering from it,
Or they were not
especially after
diagnosed.
losses.
Yeah.
After experiencing a loss of a loved one, you suffer from post traumatic stress disorder. After giving birth, you can actually suffer from that as well. After a traumatic incident in your life, you actually suffer from post traumatic disorder. So it's something that
Hmm.
people don't realize that they're suffering from, but
Yeah.
it really happens in every day. And
Hmm.
also, lastly, I would talk of eating disorders
Hmm.
as part of mental health disorder.
Yeah. Because I think,
Try,
yeah,
yeah,
with, yeah,
yeah,
I was
you can go
thinking with
on.
eating disorders, I think it differs. Could be
Yeah,
someone is overeating or people don't actually eat at all. Mm.
it's two first. If you're eating, like you're overeating, it can
Yeah.
also be a sign of a type of mental disorder. And if you're starving yourself to, let's say people want to be slim, people want to over exercise. If you're over exercising, it can actually be a type of mental health disorder.
So I was just thinking when you were talking about this, you were kind
Yeah.
of talking about a lot of people could be going through this without realizing that this is what they're actually going through.
Yes.
So I was kind of looking at how common are mental illnesses. So
Yeah.
I kind of looked at different statistics.
Yeah.
Did you mind? So in terms of, I know I was trying to look in a global, because obviously we live in a
Yeah.
global
Now a
village.
global village.
Um,
Yeah.
so I would say, looking at um United States,
Yeah.
in terms of statistics, it talks about more than 50%
Hmm.
of people be diagnosed with mental illness or disorder at
Yes.
some point in their life.
Yes. Yes.
It talks about 1 in 5 Americans who experience mental illness in a given year. So
Yeah.
that's a huge in a
That's a
year.
huge
Yeah.
number.
So it says 1 in 5 children, either currently or at some point during their life, have had a
Hmm.
serious mental illness.
Yes.
And then talks about 1 in 25 American lives with a serious mental illness, such as
Oh wow.
schizophrenia,
Yeah.
bipolar disorder, or a major depression.
Yeah.
So, and
and
so,
and and, and maybe on statistics as well.
yeah.
Can you also add that substance abuse
Hmm.
is also a type of mental health disorder, and a lot of people in the world, 1 in 4 in the world,
Hmm.
suffers from substance misuse.
I know in UK, as United Kingdom, have actually said 1 in 4 in the UK is affected by mental health problem as well.
Yeah,
But I think I would, to kind of say, in terms of this session, would be helpful to bring this to awareness in terms of, I know First World would have done justice. That's what I personally feel.
yeah,
They've done justice in kind of recognizing mental health, in
yeah.
terms of recognizing the importance of mental health, the importance of getting support for people with
For
poor
people,
health,
yes.
and kind of giving the available support for mental illness. And I think we need to be raising the awareness as well in third world, in African countries, to
Hmm.
kind of say sometimes people don't understand what someone is going through, because they
Yeah,
might just label it to say, okay, that one does not make sense, or that
yeah,
one talks too much, or that person is attention seeking,
yeah.
but they don't understand
They're
that it
actually
could be
suffering. They're actually
something that they're
suffering.
going through. Like, we kind of say that it could be going through because they're having stress at work. It
Yeah,
could be they're having a physical health problem
yeah,
that's actually causing um that poor mental illness. So it could
yeah.
be heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and it kind of then transmit into causing mental
Yeah,
health problems.
awareness has
Yeah,
to be shared.
yeah.
Like,
Hmm.
even when we were talking about dementia, a lot of people don't really know about dementia.
Hmm.
In African countries, I've seen it, and I'm talking something that I've
Hmm.
witnessed
Yeah.
that happens, and there is need for awareness in terms of mental health and mental illness.
Yeah.
There's a lot that happens. There are a lot
Hmm.
of stresses, everyday stresses that people go through, be it financial, be it physical, be it um,
Mm,
social, even religious matters.
mm.
It's in
Okay.
every. You don't seem
Yeah.
to agree with me,
I'm
Anissa.
not saying I'm,
I'm saying
I'm
sometimes,
agreeing. Yeah. Mm.
at times, it does
Okay.
affect.
Um. All right. So I was just gonna say I was agreeing with what you were saying to
Yeah.
say there's a lot of things, and I think you have touched on some of the things that to say a lot of times it's going on and like not noticed what's
Yeah.
going on,
I
and
notice. Yeah.
people get on with it, or they have
Mm-hmm.
to get on with their life. So it's talking about in terms of causes, like we said, there has to be a medical professional who actually diagnose or
Diagnose.
kind of find help. But we're
But we
just
can pick on
bringing in
symptoms.
awareness. We're talking about early life experiences such as
Yeah.
trauma, a history of abuse. So we're
Yeah.
talking, for example, child abuse, sexual assault, witnessing domestic abuse,
Yeah.
witnessing domestic violence. We're talking about someone who's experiencing an
That's true.
ongoing chronic or medical condition such as cancer,
Yeah. Yeah.
diabetes.
It really affects. Yeah.
Yeah. And there are other things like that's why we need to have medical professionals on board. We're talking about biological factors or chemical imbalances in the brain that could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
causing that
Yeah.
mental
Yeah.
illness.
Yeah.
We're talking about use of alcohol or drugs. I know the last time in our first session we touched a bit on alcohol and drugs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of talking about how alcohol and drugs can also have an impact
Impact on
on mental
mental health is
illness.
yeah.
Um and having feelings of loneliness and isolation
Yeah.
that could cause poor mental health, or that could have an impact as well on your
Yes.
mental health.
Yeah, that's true. Because they're
Mhm,
like main symptoms that you can pick.
mhm,
If you're just a layman, you can just pick that someone is suffering from mental health. So we're going to share the main symptoms that you can pick to help someone who's suffering from mental health. It's not only us who cannot pick that
mhm,
this person is suffering from mental health. Even the individual themselves, they
mhm,
might not even pick it up that they're
mhm,
actually suffering from mental illness. So
mhm,
there are at least five symptoms,
mhm.
major symptoms that you can pick. And these are excessive paranoia,
Yeah,
worry, or anxiety,
yeah.
long lasting sadness
Mhm,
or irritability,
mhm.
extreme changes in mood,
Yeah,
social withdrawal,
yeah.
and dramatic changes in eating
Or
and
sleeping
sleeping
pattern.
habits.
Yeah, true.
So these are the major symptoms that you can pick that someone is actually suffering from
Mhm.
poor mental health or mental disorder or mental illness
Yeah.
and need diagnosis, need the help of a GP,
And need support.
and need
Yeah.
support because support is the
Mhm,
major thing, major cure of mental health. You need good support systems.
mhm.
Yeah.
I was thinking we won't do justice
Yeah.
without kind of talking about COVID and mental health, because we're
Wow.
talking
Yeah.
about the current issues.
Yes.
Um, so I think this affects, to be honest, it's affecting professionals, people as well,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So even kind of touching on even the people that are providing care
Yes.
to other people during
Yes.
COVID, it can lead to stress, anxiety, fear, and other strong emotions.
Wow. Yeah.
So we're talking about COVID-19 having the pandemic has had a major effect
Major
on people's
effect on
lives.
people's lives.
So
Yeah.
people are being faced by challenges that can be stressful, overwhelming, and this is causing a lot of mixed emotions for adults and children,
Yeah.
because to be honest, no one really knows when this is going to stop. And I
Yes.
know a lot of governments, a
The
lot
new
of
variants and
leaders, they're,
everything.
yeah, they're really trying to actually keep everyone safe. So even this, when, and obviously providing other changes or other measures that could help. So
Yeah.
things like social distancing, they are necessary.
Yeah. True.
Lockdowns are necessary to obviously reduce the spread of
The spread.
COVID,
Yeah.
but but there is an impact because it's causing other people to feel isolated, lonely, and it's kind of having
Hence the
stress
need
and
of support
insight.
systems. Because I
Exactly.
was going to come
Hmm.
on that. I was going to
Hmm.
touch on that. We cannot separate COVID-19 and its impact on.
On mental health.
Yes,
Hmm.
it has impacted immensely. A lot of people are suffering, even thinking,
Hmm.
what are we going to do after the COVID pandemic is past us? It might not get past us, or if it gets past us,
Hmm.
the status quo. What is going to happen to the status quo?
Hmm.
It affects everyone mentally, you know.
Hmm.
But we're going to touch on the like cure,
Mm,
for mental health. Of course, you can get antidepressants as a medical cure, but there are other cures that you can get, from, support systems. Just
mhm,
talking about your problems, talking about your
mhm.
worries with someone, just finding someone
That
that you just,
support.
yeah, that support
Um,
system. I've noticed,
mhm,
in Africa, there's this spirit called Ubuntu where you
mhm.
just talk to everyone, greet everyone. You see someone in the
And
streets,
care
hey,
for each
hello,
other,
hello,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, the case much. But in first world countries, that does not
Because
exist.
people are really busy.
Yes, people are busy.
Mhm,
People live in enclosed life.
mhm,
Like you might live at a house with neighbors that you don't even know, that you've
mhm.
never seen.
And life
You
goes
can go
on.
for a year without seeing your neighbor. You
Mhm,
know, you can go for a year without even talking to anyone on the street. So that really affects. Imagine being behind closed doors in the lockdown.
mhm,
You're working from home. You're behind closed doors. You don't have anyone to talk to. This really affects your mental, stability. You suffer from depression. You suffer from anxiety.
mhm,
Anxiety. You don't know what the future holds. You don't know what's gonna
mhm,
happen tomorrow.
mhm.
So yeah, we need support systems.
So I was gonna kind of talk about like how you introduced what we're talking about
Yeah.
today, to say everyone has got a mental health,
Yeah.
just the same as we've got a physical health,
Yes.
just the same as we've got an emotional health
Yes.
and a spiritual health as well. So
Exactly.
what I'm encouraging people today is to take care of yourself, to
Hmm.
know that you've got your mental health that needs to be taken
Yeah,
care of.
exactly.
So
Take care of
when talking,
yourself.
the first thing is kind of how do you then do it? Because it's not about us coming here and telling you how we're talking about mental
Yeah.
health without kind of giving you how you could take care of yourself
Yes.
mentally.
Yes.
So recognize stress if you're stressed out,
Exactly.
and kind of see how do you build resilience, because we have, as people, obviously, yourself or myself, I've got
Hmm.
different strategies to build my resilience
So.
and know where to go if you need help. So we're talking
Hmm.
about if you're going to go to your GP, if you're going to go to your doctor, if you're going to go to your psychiatrist, are you going to your friends? Are you going to your
Yeah.
family? Who do you think is your help? Or who
Yes.
can encourage you to take that bolder step to seek
Yeah.
medical profession?
Yeah.
Um, and then talking about even when you're at work, or even
Yeah.
when you've got a busy life, everything that you're doing, even if you might be self employed, you could
Yeah.
be a housewife, you could be everything that you're doing. Take breaks and to just kind of do something that you
Yeah.
like.
Relieve yourself. Yeah.
Exactly.
Relieve yourself.
Read something that interests you. Listen to news on
Yeah.
like including those on social media, not too much on it.
Yeah.
It's time to kind of know that and
Hmm.
pull yourself out from negative stuff,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
things that are negative that can consider you to kind of trigger some negative emotions that can
Yeah.
trigger anxiety or fear to you.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're taking time off to yourself, like giving yourself deep breaths,
Yeah.
um and also try to eat healthy,
Yeah.
balanced meals,
Yeah. Yeah.
exercise regularly,
Yeah.
and get plenty
It
of
frees your
sleep.
mind to exercise regularly,
Exactly.
but
Get
not to over
mm,
exercise. Let's
mm.
emphasize this on its
I
own.
was just gonna say the last two ones that I think are important.
Yeah.
So avoid excessive alcohol, tobacco,
Yeah.
or substance use,
Yeah.
because you might be feeling isolated or
Yeah.
lonely. You might want to tend to
To a
that.
quick fix.
That's when maybe you might kind
Yeah.
of become dependent to that.
Yeah.
And then the
Because
other,
alcohol is not
Mhm.
a quick.
And I was gonna say as well, connect with your community
Hmm.
or faith-based organizations. So although I know these days there could be social distancing,
Hmm.
try and utilize that. Your community is there. It could be
Yes.
faith-based organization. What are your beliefs? Trust in that and kind of draw your strength from that
Yeah.
to kind
True.
of keep yourself going.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it can be too busy, but
Hmm.
try and make sure you're taking care of yourself,
Yeah.
because as much as you want to achieve those goals, you will not achieve them if you're not doing
Isolated. Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. You, even if you want to work hard, you want to do everything in life, you have to have a good mental. You be in a good mental
Taking
state.
good care of
Take
yourself
your
mentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take good care of yourself mentally. It really helps. If you're suffering from mental health, mental health, poor mental health or mental health disorders, they lead to a number of
So even if someone has been diagnosed with
yeah,
someone, they can, with a mental health illness,
Yeah.
they can still take care of themselves. They can still do these things. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that when someone is being diagnosed, they can't take care of their
Change.
mental health.
Yeah.
They can do what their medical professional is kind of
Advised.
recommended them, and they
Yeah.
can still be okay and still be
To
having a good
function.
mental
Yeah.
health.
Yeah.
So
True.
I think it's not about saying if someone is being diagnosed, we're saying they can't function well.
They can.
They
Yeah.
can, whilst they're being diagnosed, they're given, obviously that's the importance of saying, okay, go to your doctors, go to your general practitioners, go to your
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist,
Mm-hmm.
go to your psychologist, go to your counselor, what are they saying about your well-being?
Yeah.
But and then kind of using all those strategies and those recommendations that they've kind of
Yeah.
done for you so that you kind of progress in a positive
Mm-hmm.
way. So even if there is a diagnosis for you, it's not the stopping, it's not the end for you,
Yeah.
because you can still have take care of your mental health.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We want to build a very good, healthy world. And a healthy world means you're okay mentally, you're also okay physically, you're okay socially.
And
So
supporting people who might be going through those
through
difficult
those
issues as
difficulties,
well.
yeah, even if you are looking forward to uh, develop as a country, be it you're in the third world, you're looking forward to developing, you can't have development when your people are in a poor mental state. You need everyone to be functioning. You need everyone to be safe. You need everyone to be active. So this really helps, and it helps in everything that we do. So good mental health awareness is a typical or topical issue, a topical matter that we really needed to touch on. That's why you're seeing serious faces because we mean business.
Yeah, and I think
Suicide
being
is a result of
yeah,
poor mental health.
I think being aware of that, it helps as well,
Drug
because
and substance
yeah,
misuse.
because
So
you
this is a topic that we touched on, drug
the
and substance
first
misuse.
episode,
This
yeah.
first episode. If you haven't watched it, go to our first episode, drug and substance misuse. It's affecting people. I was actually reading the news yesterday. In Zimbabwe, hospitals are actually flooded with people with suffering from drug and substance misuse. In in a period where we expect hospitals to be flooded with COVID-19 cases,
But
is the other way around.
I think is the impact of that. I think we've kind of
Yes, the
touched, yeah,
impact of COVID-19.
yeah.
Yeah,
Because remember,
it's
we're
downplayed, but COVID-19 is impacted a lot on our mental health and our mental well-being. So that's it. That's it for today, isn't it?
yes, yes,
So
yes.
everyone,
We'll come up with more episodes to
yeah,
kind of explain more. We're just laying a
yeah,
foundation
this is just
to
laying a
just kind
foundation on
of
mental health.
work together, because we said we're going to be working together. We're starting with a bit
Yes,
and giving you the introduction,
yeah,
giving you understanding, giving you the basics,
yeah. This
and we
that's the
move.
basis.
Yeah.
This that's the base. These are the start of it. It's an episode on its own, but we're going to be, going
Expanding on it.
in expanding on mental health awareness so that we share everything that we know. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We call it a wrap. Until we meet next time,
And have a lovely week.
have a lovely week. Bye
Bye.
bye.